Yo boys, welcome to my first video on the channel that doesn't have a name at the moment, but maybe will by the time that I've made this. I'll flash it up on screen now. There you go, that should be enough. For this first video, I'm not gonna have a camera going purely because of the fact that it's 10 at night. I've had a rough day. Well, not a rough day, but you know, I'm just not looking the best right now, so we'll save the face till the next video. So, straight off the bat, my first ever proper theme park was LegoLand in Windsor, and I have so many good memories from this place. It's crazy. Like, I think we went there at least every month for about 6 years of my life. Which was cool. It sort of, you know, you see the place develop and a lot of things. And I saw a lot of rides disappear, a lot of rides appear. It's probably a very different place now, but at the time, I think it was probably my favourite place on the planet. I mean, if you stick anything with Lego in front of me, I was happy, but you combine that with a theme park, boy, I was that was a dream for me. Yeah, I remember this one really, like, this time that sticks out in my brain is when they were doing this thing with the pop badges that they had in the park. I think Legoland was the first place to ever do them. And if you got this gold one, you had to take it to the sort of front desk place, I guess, or like get a member of staff to take you there, and you get a prize. I can't remember what the prize was, so it can't be that great in hindsight. But I remember I came out of this restaurant with my family, and this staff member just like appeared out of this gate, and I was like, "Hey, yo, I've got this this gold badge thing. And, you know, can you take me to where it needs to be taken to?" And I remember, like, my parents didn't know where I was at this time, and I was just following this guy across the park. But he wasn't just walking, he was like full-on sprinting to get there, and I didn't even hesitate to do it either. And I'm glad he actually did turn out to be a member of staff and not just some random guy, because that could have ended badly for me. But the things that's not so great about Legoland is the fireworks shows. Now, they were cool and they were really good, and I remember this Indiana Jones one. They had like lasers and projections on the water, and it was the coolest thing ever. But they would always do them in the winter because obviously it goes darker earlier, right? So every time we went to them, the weather would get worse and worse every time. And this one time there was an actual snowstorm when we were sat down for this fireworks show, and it got delayed by about, I think, an hour and a half. So there was little old, you know, like 6-year-old me just sat there, just absolutely miserable. And by the time this fireworks show started, it was good, but not worth the wait, man, not at all. One thing I wish I could have done at Legoland, though, was they had the jungle coaster. I don't know if anyone even remembers this, because this was like, you know, like 10 years ago now. By the time I was tall enough to actually go on it, they were already getting rid of it for the hotel, and the only way I can ride it now is to one day go over to Florida. So maybe in the future I'll finally get to go on it and like prove something to my 6-year-old self, but probably not. My favourite ride ever as a kid was Professor Burp's Bubbleworks. Kind of sad they changed it into the Imperial Level one, but I still liked it as a kid because I was too dumb to realise that the whole Professor Burp character had kind of been taken out. I was kind of just like, oh, it's still the same ride. But then eventually I realised that he wasn't there, and there was in fact a gravestone in Chessington saying that he died, and I think the day that I found out about that, it was probably quite sad. But yeah, my favourite park is probably Alton Towers. Only recently though, because every time I went as a kid, which was only about 2 or 3 times since it's quite far from me, I didn't go on any of the coasters really. I went on the mine train and maybe one of the other coasters, but I wouldn't be able to tell you which. Recently, Alton became my favourite because I finally actually went on roller coasters. And before I say anything, I'm going to play my reaction to first going on a big roller coaster, which for me was Galactica. And yeah, without further ado, here it is. I just did Galactica. F***ing sick. Had a good time. Not 10 out of 10, but like, I've only done that so far, so yeah. Now, Galactica is like a fine ride, but at the time I was just like hyped up on the fact that I'd been on like a big coaster. I was just like, that's the most proud I think I've felt of myself in my life. But my favourite ride on park ended up being Nemesis, but that maybe would have changed if I'd gone on Smiler or Oblivion, but by the time we'd actually walked over to Smiler, I was like feeling quite nauseous because I'd been on Oblivion I think 5 times or 4 times in a row before that, which was a bit Bit of a bad idea, but I enjoyed it. I'll actually give you a juicy story here. When I was about 7 or 8, I still wasn't into roller coasters like at all, and I remember we were queuing up for Vampire, and basically since I decided that I didn't want to go on it, I went and sat on the other side where there's like steps and things like that. My mum and my brother were still queuing. They were at the front of the queue, you know, right in front of the air gate things, and one of the staff members was signing to me to sort of come over, as if my mum was saying something to her. But I didn't really question it, and without looking, I just sort of like started walking over. And this is probably more dramatized in my head than what it actually was, but the you know, the ride vehicle for Vampire, the train for it, just came into the station, and I think that's the most scared I've been in my life. Yeah, I guess I almost got hit by the Vampire train. I doubt it would have impacted me that much. It probably would have just like knocked me over a bit, and I would have been like, oh, that sucks. But yeah, a little tidbit there. I was dumb and walked in front of the Vampire. So that's a little bit about me. Not really much too in depth, but this is just kind of an introduction video to get this whole channel started. I hope you guys liked that. I hope you guys found it kind of interesting in some way. Yeah, hopefully this will be the start of something cool. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.